YouTube. My name is Majestic. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking to you about crocheting. I know it's a bit of a difference between the knitting that I've been showing you guys before. So I'm actually going to be showing you guys how to do granny square. I've been making a lot of granny square blankets lately. I've got a lot of friends that recently had babies, and I have a new little cousin on the way. And there's just something really fun about doing granny squares. I know a lot of people that crochet say they're boring and they don't like them. Mainly one of my best friends says that, but I find them to be really relaxing. It's something that you can teach yourself how to do, very quick, very easy. You can teach relatives how to do it, kids how to do it, and you can just continuously make a granny square. Now you can do multiple little squares and put them all together. But what I like to do is just start with one square and just keep going around and around and around until you get to the size that you want. It's a classic and timeless look, and it's very easy. You can watch TV while doing it, or just play around with changing colors if you want to. But it's a good foundation that you might like to do. I definitely like doing it, and I feel like you will like doing it too. So without me going on too long, let me get ahead and start on showing you guys what you need to get started with your crochet project, which will be the granny square blanket. Okay guys, we're gonna get started on working on our granny square. So if you look right below, I have my backdrop as a granny square blanket that I was working on for one of my new baby cousins. And I love doing granny squares. I think they're just so easy to do. Traditionally, when I do a baby blanket, I do it in a granny square. I think granny squares get used the most because they're so symbolic with that blanket that you just love and that someone made you with love. I think that new parents definitely like using them the most. And they're just so cool. So that's my take on granny squares. I've knitted blankets before, and people have felt like they were too fancy and just they didn't want to use them, didn't want to get them messed up. But when I've made granny squares, they always get used. And I feel like if you're making something for someone to use, you want to use something durable, you want to use the proper utensils, and you want to use the proper materials that they're going to be able to use. And what I'm using is the same kind of yarn as in this baby blanket. It is the Plymouth Encore yarn. I typically pay $6.50. I think this one was $7 because of the color changes, but I got it at my local yarn shop and I enjoy it. I get about 2 balls of this, and that's a baby blanket. This right here is what 200 yards looks like, and this is pretty big. It covers most of my desk, and I have 2 skeins of it, so when I finish it, it will be a pretty sizable blanket. But I'm going to be starting on this blanket so you guys can see what it looks like. This is a darker color. Traditionally, when I do tutorials, I don't do darker colors, but for the sake of me doing starting a project that you can see that I'm going to continue to make, it's probably best that I use something that I'm not going to rip out later. So let's get started. So I'm using my H hook. This is the Addi Colors crochet hook, and it is made very nicely. It's one of my favorite crochet hooks. And then I have my end of yarn, and so what I'm going to be doing is making a slip knot. If you have no idea how to make a slip knot, that's totally okay. I'm going to be showing you how to do so. So for me, I do my slip knots where I wrap the yarn around my finger, like so. I use my thumb as a pincher so that it holds everything together. That's how I crochet. And what I do from there is I take that back yarn, so the first wrap and the second wrap. So the first wrap going over, second wrap going over, and then the final wrap, this first wrap just pulling through. If that is too complicated, the easier way to do it would just be to wrap it around the same way, take your crochet hook and pull the yarn through like so, and then pull it down again. It's essentially the same thing, but with the crochet hook. So once you get your slip knot on your crochet hook, you're going to just make sure your tail is long enough. This is about as long as I like my tails to be for when I weave in my ends. And I hold my yarn like so, where I have my finger pointed, my middle fingers and pinky and ring finger are all kind of clasping down the yarn, and my thumb is used to pinch a hold of my working yarn to hold everything together. So my tail and everything's pinched, and along with my working yarn to just hold the tension, and I hold my crochet hook like this. So I'm chaining 4. So I've got 2, 3, and 4. You're going to be working in 4s and you're going to be working in 3s when you do granny squares. So you're going to go in to the last chain that's closest to your tail, and you're just making a circle. And by doing that, you are just creating a slip knot. So you're just grabbing yarn and pulling through like so. Now your tail creates an interesting part, because your tail is actually going to help create a drawstring closure like this one is, like a flower. So we're going to be starting with our 4 points, and that is how we're going to start our square. So we're going to be chaining 3, 2, 3, and then we're going to go into the circle. So that's the circle you created with your chain 4, and we're wrapping around because we're going to do a double crochet. So I'm in the center of my circle, and I am doing 1 double crochet. Double crochet is wrapping your yarn around your hook, going in to wherever you're going to be doing, whether it's a chain or a circle, grabbing yarn. You're going to go through, you're going to grab yarn again, you're going to go through 2 loops, and then you're going to grab more yarn and go through your last 2 loops, and that is your 3. So after that, we're going to go over here. We're just going to keep, so what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2, and now we're going to, and this is establishing a corner. So we got 4 corners we have to make. So north, south, east, west, however you want to do it. So we've got north. Now we're going to work on our east. So we're going to go in and wrap around, go in, through 2, through 2 again. And we're going to do that 2 more times. Around, go through 2, go through 2, wrap around, go through 2, go through 2, and 1, 2. All right, and now we're going to start with our south. So we got 1, 2, and 3. All right, and now we're going to do our last one, chaining 2 and 1, 2, and 3. I do crochet kind of fast, so if I ever go too fast, please do message me, and I will happily make sure that I slow down in my next videos. And we're just going to chain 2, and then we're going into our very top stitch. That's the first one that you created, that last of that chain, the chain 3 that you did, and you were going to do a slip stitch. So slip stitch is just when you go in and you just slip through everything, and that's it. So we have our 4 corners, and it looks kind of like a cracker, and that's the foundation of your granny square, is that square. If you mess up, you'll know, because you will start making a triangle rather than a square. And granny squares are square because they are made of squares. So now we're just going to do another chain of 3, and then we're going to go into our first section right here, which is one of our corners. So now I've done 3, Now I'm going over into the next. I'm not going to chain anymore. I'm just going to go over into the next stitch, which is going to be our next corner. So, and corner spaces are created, and they look kind of like hearts when they're done. So I've done 3, and now I'm going to chain 2 again. You only change 2 in your corners. You don't chain 2 in any other space other than the corner. And you're just going to go back into that same hole, and we're just establishing our quarter. All right, so we have 1 corner. Look at that. Looks so cool. Just such fun to have a little corner. Sorry, I'm touching the camera and everything. But yeah, that's our corner. And so now we're going to go into our next corner. So we're just going to keep doing our double crochets or triple crochet. Now that we've got 3, we're going to chain 2 and go right back in to make our corner. And the cool thing about granny squares is once you get your granny square down, you can stop at any point. No one's going to say that's going to be too small unless you're trying to make a blanket. But this will make a very nice blanket for your Barbie. So this will be totally fine if you're doing things for a dollhouse or something. So I didn't talk about the corner, but I think you guys are getting the hang of it. So next, and this is the fun part, we're just going to go in because now we're going to connect these. So we've already started in this corner, right? So we're doing got our 3. Now we're going to do our chain 2. And we're going to go into that top stitch. And we are going to be just doing a simple slip stitch. Now we have the beginnings of a square. Look how cool that is. All right, so now we're going to be chaining 3 again. We're going to go back into our corner, and we're going to do 3 more. And you should be starting on every row starts in the corner space. Now we're going to go into this space right here. That space is new. And every round you're going to get more and more of these little spaces in between your corners. All right, and you're just going to go as normal. And now we're heading towards a corner. So we're going to go in our corner. And we're going to do what corners do. And that means we're going to split the middle with a chain of 2. I know, it's such a cute little rhyme. So, did my chain of 2. And like I said, I do crochet pretty fast. So I'm going to do this next section a lot slower because I realize that I'm just going and going. All right, so I got to pull some more yarn out. I will say these are really fun for me to do. So now you're gonna wrap around, go in to our section right here, and see how we're creating more sections. We're chaining 1 here, and once we finish with this space, we're gonna have 1 here. So see, we create 2 more spaces right here. So every time we're going to increase by 1 row. Every time do it, each side is going to increase by 1 space. So if you ever need to know what row you're on, just count the spaces on one side. And that'll give you an indication. All right, and like I said, so we got that corner, we got this one. We're gonna have another space because we're gonna go into our corner here. So going in our corner, we've got 1, we've got 2. Okay, I didn't grab that one. And we've got 3. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna chain 2. 1, 2, and go back in our corner. And we're gonna go 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. And now we have 3. And we're just gonna go into this part right here. And so now we're going to go into our corner over here. And like I said, this is really relaxing. You can just pop in whatever thing you're going to be streaming or watching, or if you're going to be watching more YouTube videos, just whatever that you feel like you want to do. And you can just do it in crochet. I do like to watch a lot of YouTube videos while crocheting. I mainly watch a lot of videos that are informative, just like people telling me about their businesses or people explaining to me how things work or just whatever. But I also watch a lot of streaming things. Like I stream Big Bang Theory and movies and stuff. That's like some of my favorite things to do, is just get caught up on shows while working on projects. Just rests your brain. Alright, so now that we're almost done with this row, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do our 3. 1, 2, 3. And remember, because we started in this corner space, so we just have to chain 2 and connect. Like so. And we have our square. That's a really cool looking square. And you're just going to keep going from there. And you'll notice that you have these little heart-shaped little sections that come out, and those will keep you in check as you keep going. Just remember to look for the construction of the square and how the square is doing, and your granny square is going to look super cool. So whether you want to make a huge blanket or you just want to make a couple little pieces and you want to, you know, just make a bunch of these little ones and sew them together, that's perfectly fine. I've done scarves and things like that before, but it's really up to you on how you want to get that done. You know, just get creative with it. But this is the beginning of a granny square. You just keep going from there, and that's all. I would suggest that you do not make these into pot holders, mainly because these, if you're using a acrylic yarn or you're using a wool blend yarn, no matter what, these things are not supposed to handle direct hot heat, and that means like from a pot, from an iron thing. It's fine if you put it in washing machine or dryer, but it definitely does not want to be directly on a hot plated surface. So just letting you know, it will change the shape and texture of these pieces, because remember, acrylic is essentially plastic, so you want to be mindful of that too. So if you think you're going to make a bunch of granny squares in the pot holders, reconsider the type of yarn. You use something like a wool, or use just a different type of fabric. You can sew them or knit them with cotton or crochet them with cotton, but I definitely would not recommend using this type of yarn for making a pot holder. With that being said, if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe, and leave me a comment below about any kind of videos you would like to see more of. I will be posting in probably a new video a week, but as of right now, it's just whenever I feel like having content, and when I'm not feverishly working on a project is when I most likely put work out. I got a Cricut Joy for Christmas, and I have been trying to figure out how to utilize this and work with it. So that's going to be another list of videos of just how I'm handling the Cricut Joy life. Thank you for watching my videos, and I hope to see you guys soon. Goodbye.